step ahead restoration and cleaning. Call right now, 252-492-5560.
I wake up, turn on my screen. There's a voice, it feels like a dream. Next door radio, my online neighbor, telling stories like no other flavor. Local talk in the palm of my hand. Dial a number, it's time to expand. Join the program, let your worries unfold. Listen and share, it never gets old.
Good morning, everyone. This is Kellie, Syfan, your host of the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. We are so excited for our guest today, but we're going to make sure that we've got a really clear signal. Sometimes our guests join us here in the studio, and sometimes they join virtually. Today we have a virtual guest. Now, I want to start today just by talking about some of the amazing things we've been doing on the Helpers Hour. We have so many different providers in this area in the Triangle, all the way up to the northern border of North Carolina. And not everybody knows all of the incredible resources that we have in this area. In fact, we don't know most of the resources we have in this area. We've got some really incredible helpers out there doing some amazing things. If you know somebody in a helping field or doing something to help the community that you think we should have on this radio station, being interviewed, getting it out there, feel free to reach out to Nextdoor Radio, and we will make sure that we get them scheduled and on our radar. Now, we've had all sorts of different people on the show so far. We've had massage therapists, we've had equine-assisted mental health providers, all sorts of different things. But one thing we haven't had is a lot of talk around the teachers in schools that are helping in our area. Not everybody knows how many different types of schools we have. We've got our classic public schools, charter schools. Most people know about that. Of course, we have some amazing homeschool groups. We also have some schools that are dedicated specifically to helping specific populations that have higher needs or may need a little bit more support in order to be successful in their school experience. And I'm really glad that we're going to be able to talk about that today. Now, the reason you might not know about these schools is because they are serving such a niche population. And what a wonderful thing it is that today you're going to get to hear a little bit more about how these populations are served so that you have more knowledge about the amazing people that we have in general in the Triangle and the folks that support them. Now, one of the things that we need to keep in mind when we're having conversations about schools is there's all sorts of different things that we can talk about. We could talk about academic rigor, we could talk about specific populations. There's so many different directions that we can go with this. It's going to be tough to fit it all into a 1-hour show. We're going to do our best. If you joined us last week, we were talking with occupational therapist Kellie. We talked about some of the different accommodations that we can see in schools and some of the different things we can do to help kids be successful in the classroom. And one of the things we're going to lean into today is how that's put into action. How do we take some of those accommodations, some of those different things, those little steps forward that help kids be successful and really put them into action, making sure that every child is able to reach the education that they deserve and they are given the best chance that they can to access everything that they want and need in their life. And something else I want to bring in from last week is that big goal of what really matters in a child's life, what really matters to them, what really matters to their success, making sure that we're leaning that direction and not teaching things that people perhaps say, you've got to learn this, but you'll never use it again versus, hey, you actually need to know this and you're going to use it for the rest of your life. Such an interesting debate in the education sector. Do we need, say, trigonometry or do we need to know how to do our own taxes? Things to discuss. I'm not going to sit here and say I know the perfect answer, that I know this is the way it should be done, or this is the way it should be done, but rather, I love that we can have these conversations as a community to make sure that we're providing all the best resources we can to the kids we serve and love every day. One of the things that I want us to think about as we're going through our conversation today is how can we be a part of the solution? How can we be a part of this discussion in a healthy way and talk about all the different things that could bring more success to our community in general? When we're talking about kids that are having a really tough time in school or it's really tricky, it's tricky to go through the routine or to be in the big group or to keep up with the curriculum. A lot of times we run into some thinking of, well, we just need to give them the skills so that they can do that thing. They can do typical school. And I wonder if it's worth our time. In fact, I'll go beyond wondering. I know it's worth our time to discuss what other ways we can serve kids in a really beautiful way to help them reach those goals and get where they need to be, knowing that it may not look exactly the same as every other child. It may not look like a typical schooling environment, but it brings them joy and success, brings joy back to the family, brings success back to the family, gets every child where they need to be. So that's something that you may find during this conversation. You go, oh, I didn't realize that this was available. I didn't realize that this is a way it could be done. And I just love that there's so much creativity in the triangle that we can have such amazing places available for every child to be able to fit in and to reach their best success. Now, of course, you know that this means we're going to have some amazing helpers with us along the way, helping us every step of the way. We're going to need incredible teachers. We're going to need incredible directors and administration. We're going to need a lot of teamwork to move forward. And that's something I want to lean into as well. If you listen today and you go, wow, this is something that I could lean into, that I would really love to be a part of. There's a bunch of different ways that you can help support kids in our community that learn in different ways than our typical neurotypical teaching patterns, excuse me, would serve well. All sorts of different things that you can do. Also, if you listen to that and you go, holy moly, my child would really benefit from schooling that's a little bit different or a private school that really fits their needs, they're going to have another resource today. And that's pretty wonderful as well. I am just so excited to know that we've got this platform for reaching out and making sure that everyone understands all of the different things that can be made available in our area. Another thing that I want for us to consider today is, what does schooling really mean for us? What does it mean to go through an education? What does it mean to be able to do the different skills of school? And think about, if you're an adult listening, think about your time in school and those things that were challenging for you, because everybody has them. Whether it was, man, staying seated was just terrible, or I was the class clown. I just was so bored. I was going to make it fun. And thinking about those things and going, is there a way that I could have been served better? Going, taking the nostalgia of your own education, going, were there places where creativity and where different solutions would have served me better? I think that's an interesting direction to consider it, because we're going from that place of, it worked for me, therefore it should work for you, to, it worked for me, but it could have been better for me in these ways. I wonder if I can make it better for you. I wonder if I can make it more effective. And effective being more cost effective, effective being more efficient, effective being you have a better time. It's not as tough on you. There's a really interesting thing we run into when we get into big traditional things, going through like school. It looks just about the same every year. There's a lot of traditions around how we school. And when we look at that and go, we are figuring out the best way to move forward, but I really want it to look the way it looked for me. Then what we start to run into is, if it doesn't look that way, did what I have, was that wrong? Or if it doesn't look that way, is everybody else doing it wrong? We can run into this funny little dichotomy of trying to figure out what is the best way to move forward, Are we stuck in our ways? Are we judging ourselves? Are we judging others? And we run out of that space of being able to find the improvements to move forward on. I think that's really important that we need to focus forward on what can we do to improve, not changes for change's sake, but rather what can we really do that really makes big differences in what we're doing every day in our school systems. That's a lot of what we're going to consider today as we're thinking about all the different ways school can serve different kids, all the different ways that we can move forward. And I want to make sure that we've got this incredible resource top of mind as we're going through it. Now, in a minute or so, we're going to stop for a commercial break. But before we do, I want to make sure that everyone is ready and excited to talk through all these different things and to be able to get access to this new resource, or rather, a resource that's been with us for a little while, but you may have only heard of recently. And know that we've got so many amazing things in this place we call home. We're going to take a break now for just a couple of minutes. This is Kellie Syfan. I am the host of the Helpers Hour on Nextdoor Radio, nextdoorradio.com, and the Nextdoor Radio app. We'll be right back after this break.
Ready to get back in the game? Great news! The movement experts at Breakthrough Physical Therapy can help athletes and their families find pain relief with lasting results to keep you off the sidelines. With over 20 convenient locations across North Carolina and South Carolina, contact Breakthrough